Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the San Diego Chargers at the Cincinnati Bengals in their Week 2 matchup, September 20th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores, and we're going to go over the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. Let's start off in the first quarter. A.J. Green caught a 16-yard touchdown pass from Andy Dalton, and with the extra point by Nugent, it was 7-0 Cincinnati, just a little over 2 minutes into the game. Then, with about 8.5 minutes still left in the first quarter, Josh Lambo hit a 40-yard field goal to put the first points on the scoreboard for the Chargers as they cut into Cincinnati's lead, cutting it to 4 with the score, Bengals 7, Chargers 3. That would remain the score after one quarter of play. And then in the second quarter, with about 9.5 minutes left before halftime, Josh Lambo hit a 32-yard field goal, and that made it a 1-point game with the score Cincinnati 7, San Diego 6. So then with 6 minutes left to play before halftime, Andy Dalton threw a second touchdown pass of the game. This one a 45-yard pass to Marvin Jones. And with that extra point by Mike Nugent, it was 14-6 Cincinnati over San Diego as they went to the locker rooms at halftime with an 8-point lead. So now in the third quarter, just about 4.5 minutes into the third, Stevie Johnson caught a 10-yard touchdown pass from Phillip Rivers, and with the extra point by Lambo, it was once again a 1-point game with the score now Cincinnati 14, San Diego 13. Then with a little less than 3 minutes left to play in the third, Mike Nugent hit a 21-yard field goal to make it a 4-point game to extend Cincinnati's lead, as it was now 17-13 Bengals over the Chargers, and it would remain that way after 3. And then in the fourth quarter, with a little less than 9 minutes left to play, Andy Dalton hit Tyler Eifert for a 9-yard touchdown pass, his third touchdown pass of the game. And then the extra point by Nugent made it 24-13 as the Bengals extended their lead to 11. And then, with a little over 4 minutes left to play in the fourth, Phillip Rivers hits Malcolm Floyd for a 40-yard touchdown pass. They go for 2 and they failed, and so they trailed by 5 instead of 3 if they had converted, as the score was now Cincinnati 24, San Diego 19. So now the Bengals would get the ball needing to eat some clock, and they ate 3+ minutes and 5 plays going 17 yards, but they would end up having to punt the ball from their own 42, as now the Chargers would take over with a chance. Of course, they were running out of time, and on 1st and 10 from the 20, Phillip Rivers got it to Woodhead. He picked up 11 yards, and then on 1st and 10 from the 31, Phillip Rivers was intercepted by Vincent Rey as the linebacker came up with a huge clutch interception, and now all that was left to do was for Andy Dalton to take 2 knees in the victory formation as there was less than a minute on the clock, and the Bengals hold on to win this one with the final score Cincinnati 24, San Diego 19. So an exciting finish to a tough physical battle between these two teams as they were slugging it out there in Cincinnati, and the Bengals come away with the victory. They're now 2-0. The Chargers 1-1. And Andy Dalton was 16 for 26 with 214 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Phillip Rivers 21 for 27, 241 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So pretty good completion percentage. And if you count the 1 interception, that would be 22 for 27. But he was 21 for 27. And Melvin Gordon, 16 carries for 88 yards. Woodhead, 7 carries for 36 yards. Woodhead was also the leading receiver for San Diego with 6 receptions for 68 yards, as the Bengals defense was shutting down that high-powered passing attack of San Diego. Giovanni Bernard had a big game on the ground for Cincinnati, 20 carries for 123 yards. He also had 3 receptions for 16 yards. As we see the Cincinnati Bengals still have that dual threat with Hill and Bernard. Last week it was Hill coming up with a big performance. This week it was Bernard. Hill did have 10 carries for 39 rushing yards. and he also had 1 reception for 2 yards. Eifert had 4 receptions for 49 yards. Jones, 2 receptions for 48 yards. And A.J. Green, 3 receptions for 45 yards. Eifert, Jones, and Green each had 1 touchdown received. And Dalton also ran for 10 yards off of 5 carries as well. We also look at Mike Nugent, 1 for 2 on the field goals. He did miss one, but he was 3 for 3 on the extra points. Lambeau, 2 for 3 on the field goals for the Chargers, 1 for 1 on the extra points. And the leading tackler in the game was a 3-way tie between 2 Bengals and 1 Charger. Eric Weddle for San Diego, and Adam Pac-Man Jones and Dre Kirkpatrick for Cincinnati. They all had 7 tackles in this game. We also had some sacks. Carlos Dunlap had 1.5 sacks. Clark had a half sack. Gilberry had a sack. Atkins had a sack, as they were getting after the quarterback. And in this game, they combined for 4 sacks on defense for Cincinnati. And also the 1 pick came by Vincent Rey, of course, in the closing moments of the game, coming up with that big clutch play to thwart the comeback efforts of San Diego. Of course, Philip Rivers, he's always good there at the end of the game, but not this time. Not so fast, Phil. It's Cincinnati showing that they're playing defense for real. And so then, San Diego was playing pretty good on defense too, not to take anything away from them on that side of the ball, or really either side of the ball. It was a really good game, really tightly contested, very physical. Cincinnati is definitely for real. I think San Diego's for real as well. In this game, we look at the team stats, and the Bengals had 20 first downs, 19 first downs for the Chargers. On third down, both teams converted 4 third downs, and the Chargers were 4 for 11, the Bengals 4 for 10, 36% for San Diego, 40% for Cincinnati. And we look at total net yards, 389 for the Bengals, 354 for the Chargers. Net rushing yards, 175 for the Bengals, 131 for the Chargers. Net passing yards, 223 for San Diego, 214 for Cincinnati. Of course, Philip Rivers was sacked 4 times in this game, a combined loss of 18 yards. Andy Dalton was not touched once. He was not sacked once in this game. They were doing a good job of protecting him. They're doing a good job blocking on the pass and on the run, opening up those holes for Giovanni and Hill, as it were. And then we look at the red zone, and in the red zone, both teams were 50%, but the Bengals got there twice as much, as they were 2 for 4, and the Chargers were 1 for 2. The Chargers did have the ball more, just slightly so. They had it for 18 more seconds, so basically 1 more play, as it was 30 minutes and 9 seconds for the Chargers in time of possession, 29 minutes and 51 seconds for the Bengals. So it was a really good game, pretty evenly matched. Cincinnati, though, was in control, for the most part in this game, as they were in the lead the whole entire game. They never trailed at any point. San Diego was hanging in there with them. They did make it interesting, but the Bengals, like I said, they were in control at home. Their defense was playing really solid, really physical. They were moving the ball on the ground. They were getting it done in the air, too. They don't really necessarily have to throw a lot of passing yards. The Bengals are a very balanced team on offense and on defense. They're very solid. This is why I like the Bengals to win this division. And sitting at 2-0, they've got a good shot at doing just that. As we know, 63% of the teams that start 2-0 make the playoffs. It's not a guarantee, but it's a foot in the door. It is, starting off on the right foot, on the hot foot. They're, on the right path, moving towards postseason play. Although it is still September, it's just week 2. We've got plenty of football ahead of us. But this was definitely a possibility of being a preview for a playoff game. It's very likely. Both of these teams have a shot at winning their division. Obviously, the Bengals have a more inside track on that. The Chargers at 1-1 are not done by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, the AFC West is a tough division. So is the North, too. It's going to be interesting when we see, Cincinnati playing those in-division games. San Diego as well. Definitely looking forward to those. Like I said, I thought it was a really tightly contested game. It was really good. It showed, though, how solid Cincinnati is at home and how good their defense is playing for them to be able to hold down the Chargers. Really high-octane, potent offense. I mean, we saw Phillip Rivers throw for over 400 yards last week, and they held him to just 241 this week. So, and he had, a high completion percentage, but they did manage to get that pick off when it counted the most. That's the thing, too, is when you can get those turnovers when they count and them clutch moments, this defense definitely came up clutch, especially Vincent Rey in particular. But overall, the whole entire game, I thought the defense played spectacular for Cincinnati. Thought they did an excellent job. As I said, they're a really solid team, and they are going places in 2015. So let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions, whether you agree or disagree. I'm definitely interested on your take. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and have a great week and enjoyed all the sports and enjoy all the sports.